It's true. They attacked us while we were at rest in our camp. I appreciate your help back there. Your skill is beyond question. You're clearly an experienced mercenary. And your father, that would be Gerald, the Bladebreaker, former captain of the Knights of Seros, oft praised as the strongest knight to ever live. Have I missed anything? You haven't heard of the Knights of Seros? The most famous order of knights in all of Fodlan. How curious. I'd wager the explanation for that is fascinating indeed. That would be because you ran off. His intentions were as clear as day. You will prove a lacking ruler if you cannot see the truth behind a person's words. Me, naive. Tell me, are you actually incapable of keeping quiet, or is your lack of self-awareness a condition of some sort? Your skill is precisely why I must ask you to consider lending your services to the Empire. I might as well tell you now. I am no mere student. I am also the Adrestian Empire's. A wise choice. Though the Empire has fallen from its former glory, the other regions are merely offshoots that pale in comparison. Professor, I want you to know that it's perfectly acceptable for you to treat me as you do the others. I may be the Imperial Princess, but here at the Academy, I'm just another student. That said, know that I have high expectations of you, and high hopes. But I'm certain you can lead the Black Eagle House to greatness. They're not normally this rowdy. I do hope you can manage, Professor. It's finally time for the mock battle. This is my chance to measure your worth as an instructor. Do you think you can rise to the challenge? So confident. This will be interesting. That doesn't inspire much confidence, does it? Each of us has undergone strict training. We're prepared for anything that comes our way. That means there's no need to hold back. Show us what you're capable of. Simply tell me your weaknesses and you're welcome to stay. But is there enough time to cover them all? I spare no effort when pursuing victory. As a master of schemes, I should think you would understand. Yes, and the same is true of us. Right, Professor? Right. No matter the tactics you devise, we will destroy you. The best you can hope for is to learn a thing or two. Perhaps your time would be better spent preparing instead of worrying about the competition's mindset. Oh? In that case, I won't hold back. I look forward to assessing your abilities. I hope you don't disappoint. Well, well, what a fascinating conversation you two are having. May we join? It's irrelevant anyhow. Whatever you have planned won't save you from a crushing defeat. Excellent work today, Professor. Though our victory should come as no surprise. Was it? I'm not sure I agree with that. Yes, it was. Further proof that you're well qualified to guide the Black Eagles. You were all as ridiculous as always. We only managed to win because we worked together. Was it something I said? Is it so odd, me talking about togetherness? If so, that perception must change. In fact, I'm canceling the festivities so we can discuss this topic further. I'm kidding, of course. Come on, everyone. We've earned this celebration. The last time we fought bandits, you saved me. Maybe I can return the favor this time. The knights are well aware of our enemy's strength. We can count on them to keep the battlefield under control for us. It seems unlikely that we would lose. Still, let's do all we can to prepare. Perfect timing, Professor. I've just received word from the knights. They've located the bandits. It's time, Professor. Give us our orders and let's move out. Professor? I was wondering where you were. It's about time we headed back to the monastery. On our way out, I had the chance to observe the Red Canyon. Did you notice anything, Professor? Oh, I suppose it was only me then. Of course. I expected as much. The area was covered in ruins, each more curious than the last. They did not match the architectural style of any era or culture within the Empire, or across all of Fodlan for that matter. That can only mean one thing. The Valley civilization must have flourished and fallen in the distant past, long before the Empire was established. Who do you think lived there? What an uninspired answer. But you're probably right. It's possible they weren't even human. Perhaps their remnants still influence this world. There's no need to state the obvious, Dimitri. But tell me, why the concern? Perhaps you doubt my abilities? If so, your lack of insight is disappointing. Don't worry about it. Professor, we must hurry. Everyone's waiting on you. I remember that day well. No one saw it coming. Roughly 4 years ago, the King of Fargus was murdered by the people of Dusker. I believe that about sums it up, correct? Everyone was a bit shaken by the militia fighting alongside our enemies. If only everyone could face reality so unflinchingly. The commoners who allied themselves with Lord Lenato believed they were fighting for a just cause. It would be disrespectful to consider them simply victims when they died for what they believed in. Still, we have no choice but to eliminate those who cling to unreasonable ideas of justice. Even if our enemies are the gods themselves, we must never lose sight of our goal. Is it? Such a day may come, whether you expect it or not. You should be ready. I'm surprised to hear you say that. Really, I'm just like Lenato. I, too, will be the sort of ruler who's willing to risk the lives of my citizens in service of a higher cause. It's not possible to change the world without sacrifice. Dying for the greater good is not a death in vain. Our mission this month is to patrol and set up defenses to stop the assassination plot. You must sense that something's off about all of this. Yes, I think so too. A barely concealed secret message trying to distract us from whatever's really going on. Sloppy, to say the least. And while everyone is out searching for a phantom assassin, they'll be free to accomplish their true goal with ease. Shamir is one of the Knights of Saros, and this young man is... I believe so. How confident are you in our theory, Professor? We have no choice but to deal with the situation as it unfolds. Caspar, focus. Our mission is to find out what their true aim is. Hurry, Professor. We must find a place to hide where we can guard the stairs to the Holy Mausoleum. If the enemy moves as predicted, we should be able to cut off their escape path and capture every last one of them. A coffin. Professor, I do know of one location that has potential. If you can't think of another option, follow me to the Holy Mausoleum beneath the monastery. That's that, I suppose. The assassination attempt, the attack on the Holy Mausoleum. It was all the Western Church's doing. That masked knight who led the attack somehow managed to disappear without a trace. Oh, that's right. Geralt mentioned that you were raised without any exposure to the Church. In order to function more efficiently, the Church of Saros is split into several smaller entities. The Central Church is the largest, and leads the organization from Garreg Mach. It seems the Knights have been tasked with subduing the leaders of the Western Church. We may be given the opportunity to help them with their mission. How strange that the Archbishop would ask someone like that to lead her students. There's clearly more to that decision than we know. Professor, I heard about our mission for this month. A thief with a hero's relic is worrisome. But with you at our side, I'm certain we can handle him. After all, you have the sword of the Creator. It was allegedly wielded by Nemesis, the King of Liberation. If the legends are true, you hold the power to stand against entire armies. A band of thieves should be nothing. Even the most elite Imperial forces or the Knights of Saros could not hope to defeat you. I'm just marveling at the potential. Besides, your power does not lie solely in the sword of the Creator. Is that so? Even if those forces were to hurt someone precious to you? Can you say with full confidence that you would not turn your sword on them if that were to happen? You know, your power does not lie solely in the sword of the Creator. You are stronger and more terrifying than you realize. Professor, when we leave the monastery, will you still think of yourself as my teacher? Never mind. I'm being thoughtless with my words. For now, let's just focus on the problem at hand. This weather is unfortunate. Those villagers were right when they said a storm was brewing, but they were more afraid of an attack than they were of the storm. Let's end this quickly. Miklon must be more skilled than your average thief to have overtaken a place like that. You know your history, Gilbert. If I recall correctly, you're from the kingdom, aren't you? There's no reason that crests should have the power to dictate someone's destiny. Don't you agree, Gilbert? He was just another victim of cruel fate, forsaken by the goddess, who now demands his execution. I assume the Archbishop was pleased with your performance. Did you return the Lance of Ruin? No need to lie, Professor. I saw Sylvain earlier. It was written all over his face. That makes sense. Without a compatible crest, you can't access the weapon's true power anyway. I'm glad. Sylvain must be overjoyed as well. There's no need to lie, Professor. No one could have expected you to disobey the Archbishop. I keep thinking about what Gilbert told us. Yes, Miklon was discarded by his family because he was born without a crest. Eventually, he became a masterful thief and gathered enough ruffians to capture a fortress. Right or wrong, he was a gifted leader. He could have been a great asset to Fodlan. What a waste! It's true that a crest can increase your magical abilities and allow you to wield the full might of a hero's relic, but one cannot measure a leader's worth based solely on whether or not they bear a crest. There are plenty of talented people in this world without one. People believe crests are blessings from the goddess, that they're necessary to maintain order in Fodlan, but the people are wrong. Crests are to blame for this brutal, irrational world we live in. Their power is granted only to a select few, whom we elevate and allow to rule the world. Have you ever wondered if the only way to create a truly free world is to dispense with the goddess and the crests? Do that, and people will have no choice but to rise and fall by their own merits. Perhaps I did. I've already explained this to you. My power alone is insufficient. That's why I'm borrowing power from those people. If our teacher can wield it in my stead, I believe that would be for the best. I can't hide from the truth. I can't do all that I must on my own. If all I can rely on is my own ambition, my path won't be easy. Is it so risky to reach out my hand? Father, I swear I will not stop until I succeed. My regret, my grief, my whole life, I've thrown it all away into the darkness. I can't let this exchange pass without comment. If you're sharing secrets, perhaps I can share one as well? Coming from you, I'll take that as a compliment. After all, you're easily the student with the most secrets. Don't try to change the subject, Claude. We're talking about secrets. Yours. Who is your father? And why did you appear so suddenly as if from nowhere? Duke Regan's eldest son died in an accident. Having tragically lost other family members as well, he was without an heir. The alliance would undoubtedly have been shaken if House Regan had lost its position of leadership. But then you showed up. Why did you return to House Regan? What brought you to the monastery? I have my own dream to tend to. I pray that yours does not interfere with mine. It doesn't seem likely that she's simply gotten lost. I'll help in any way that I can. Right. If we work together, I'm certain we'll find her. It seems Flane is still missing. What could have happened to her? Professor Yuritsa? Are you there? She's unconscious. Someone clearly attacked her. No, she's just unconscious. Someone clearly attacked her. There's an opening behind that shelf. Perhaps a secret passageway. We know as much as you do. She needs to be taken to the infirmary. Understood. I'll support her head. Professor, I'll be back shortly. Please be careful. You found Flane? Where? All that matters is Flane's safety. Right, Professor? It is unfortunate. If only you could have waited for me to return. Whatever the circumstance, I'm glad Flane is safe. Though I'm curious to find out who that other girl is. Huh? Professor? Is that a smile? You look happy. I don't think I've ever seen you like this before. Anyhow, we should hurry to Sedith. He must be beside himself by now. Professor, you already know about the Battle of the Eagle and Lion, correct? I see. In that case, allow me to fill you in. Well then, allow me to fill you in. It's a large-scale mock battle between the rival houses that takes place every year. Whichever house defeats the most opponents wins. Of course, the professors also fight alongside their respective houses. Professor, if it were up to you, how would you approach this battle? That sounds like a certain someone we both know. But as you wish, we'll use whatever strategy you think is best. If the Black Eagle House bands together, we won't lose. Our battle will begin shortly. The flag of the Black Eagles will soon grace Gronder Field. No need to get carried away with praise. I know you both feel we won by a paper-thin margin, and I won't deny it. If we were to fight again, there's no telling who would prevail. What do you think, Professor? Professor? Well, I suppose it's okay to let victory go to your head just this once. True, although the Battle of the Eagle and Lion was originally named after a war between the Empire and the Kingdom. But that's all in the past. I'm sure even the name will one day fade from the pages of history. So be it. Let's plan to meet up on the night we return. Is that okay with you, Professor? What's gotten into you today? I'm not used to seeing you this excited. Seeing such a big smile on your face is a rare gift. It makes me feel like I can maybe relax a little too. I assumed you would attack us head on. I clearly need to rethink my opinion of you. Well done, Dimitri. Not strong enough, clearly. If there's ever a next time, know that I plan to wipe that smile from your face. I wouldn't mind. I'll accept a challenge from either of you at any time. I'm kidding, of course. You really value that kind of thing, don't you? Well, I suppose no harm can come from it. Count me in. Well done, Claude. I see your schemes are not to be underestimated. Not strong enough, clearly. If there's ever a next time, know that I plan to wipe that smile from your face. It seems I have no choice but to drown my sorrow at losing in overindulgence. I'll help you with the preparations. That's not exactly what I said, but forget it. Laugh all you want. Until today, I thought it would fall to me to command and guide our ranks all by myself. But with you leading us, I've gotten to experience what it's like to fight alongside everyone, and I've realized how happy it makes me, fighting under your command. The Emperor doesn't take orders from anyone. It's their duty to stand alone and lead the entire empire. But maybe it's better to have someone to rely on, so that you can support and guide each other through the darkness. I may be heir to the Imperial throne, but first and foremost, I'm your grateful student. That will never change. Even when I fulfill my destiny and become the Emperor, I told you long ago that I wish to enlist you in the service of the Empire. Well, I take it back. Now I wish only for your continued guidance during my eventual reign. I feel the same. You are something special, my teacher. Don't speak of it aloud. I know that. I also know that I must steel myself to ascend the Imperial throne. Professor, I heard about our mission for this month. Something terrible is happening in Ramire Village. That's where you were when fate sent you our way. This feels preordained. Do you believe that all these incidents are connected, Professor? That is the logical conclusion, but I'm not so sure. Oh, I'm surprised to hear you say that. But actually, I agree. It certainly appears that all of the events surrounding the monastery are connected by a single thread. However, I think it's possible that it may just be a result of different motives overlapping. Remember, Professor, if you think of people as simply enemies or allies, it may be impossible to grasp the truth. This is horrific. It's even more revolting. More terrible than I expected. That's not... Anyway, we can't focus on that right now. We must save this village. Yes, we must find a way to save this village. Wait. Those people over there, they seem to be observing the chaos. They must be behind this. Eliminate them and rescue all of the unafflicted villagers. Professor, I don't know if this is appropriate to say, but admirable work out there. I really believe we did all that we could. Geralt said the same thing. We must try to stay positive, even through the horror. No mortal is all-powerful. We must try to stay positive, even through the horror. I hear the so-called Flame Emperor appeared in Ramire Village as well. Hubert told me that you spoke with him. And do you believe him, Professor? Oh? But how can you trust someone without even knowing who they are? That makes sense. It's hard to trust someone without knowing who they are, or how they're connected to all this. Even if his words are true, his objectives are still unclear. But if the Flame Emperor should someday reveal his true intentions, maybe then he will appear before you without his mask, and you can look in his eyes and decide what you believe. Really? Is that what you want, Professor? Even if he wants you as an ally, his objectives are still unclear. If the Flame Emperor truly wishes to make use of your power, perhaps someday he will appear before you without his mask, and you can look in his eyes and decide what you believe. No, not at all. If you'll excuse me, Professor. The ball is tomorrow. I have no worthwhile memories of such events, yet I'm still looking forward to this one. I have a proposition. Let's all agree to meet back at the monastery exactly 5 years from today. Who knows where each of us will be in 5 years' time, or who we will become. Still, I have faith that all of us will gather and celebrate our reunion. Even if that's the case, you will come, won't you? Whether or not you're still teaching here. I doubt you'll be teaching here in 5 years, Professor. Still, you will come back, won't you? Don't forget, my teacher. Even if the Millennium Festival should be cancelled, I promise to return here. You're here again. Professor, you've been crying. So, even you cry sometimes. Oh, I suppose that was thoughtless of me to say. Long ago, someone said the same thing to me. My teacher, you're so blinded by grief that you can't see what's going on right in front of you. Are you waiting for time to heal your wounds? Or have you curled up in a corner and lost the will to carry on? It does. You've lost yourself. It's not like you to speak to me like that. You know I'd never ask you a question without purpose. Only you can truly understand your own sadness. Others can sympathize, or even empathize, but all anyone else can offer are the tears of an outsider looking in. So I have no intention of crying for you, or of standing still with you. All I can do is promise to reach out my hand when the time comes for me to move forward. The mysterious organization that was carrying out experiments in Ramire Village and the chapel, they're up to something near Garreg Mach. The Archbishop has sent the Knights to undertake a large-scale investigation. No information has surfaced yet, but our enemies will soon be discovered. When they are, Will you lead us into battle, or will you just sit here, with no thought for the future that is fast approaching? My teacher, there is a choice to be made. I hope you make the right one. Professor, I know where the enemy is. Where Solon is. They're in a place called the Sealed Forest, close to the monastery. The Archbishop is gathering the knights to begin a search. She's doing so in secret, behind our backs. She must be afraid that a thirst for revenge will compel you to seek them out. Now that you know, will you give us the order? Lady Rhea, our professor is not acting out of revenge. Sending us out there is the most strategic move we can make. You can't deny it. Most of the knights are still far away. Not only does our professor wield a hero's relic, but there is no one here who is more powerful. Seteth and the few remaining knights can't leave the monastery unattended. We have fought under our teacher's command countless times. We are the most effective army here, and we are already prepared for battle. We have no idea what the enemy is plotting. We must act now. Let's go, my teacher. Whatever happens, do not lose your conviction out there. Professor, I know I'm the one who insisted we come here, but don't doubt for a moment that the enemy is waiting for you. What other objective could they possibly have? We have no clue what kind of trap is waiting for us. Please be careful, my teacher. We can't afford to lose you. That could only have been magic. What happened to our professor? You're already boasting a victory, but know this. If you did use such devious tricks to stop our professor, I swear that you will regret it. That hair... and those eyes. You remind me of someone. What happened to you? The goddess. I see. Well, I'm happy for you. Your weapon is called the Sword of the Creator, after all. It's no wonder she looks favorably upon you, just as it was with Saint Saros, no doubt. And just how will you use this new power, Professor? That is so like you to say that. For us. I see. That is no answer. You must use your power for something greater than yourself. Tell me. If the world, and your students included, were to divide and go to war with each other, what would you do? In that scenario, each side would represent both the world and your students. Who would you... Professor? Have you... fallen asleep? This must be a side effect of your recent... changes. I can't just leave you here. I could try carrying you, but... No, I had better call for Hubert. I shouldn't ask Hubert to carry you. So I suppose it falls to me. Professor, you should know that I'll be away from the monastery for a few days. It's meant to be a secret, but I'm going to Enbar, the imperial capital. Don't worry, I'll be back in time for the ceremony at the Holy Tomb. Professor, will you join me? There's something I must do. It will take a few days, but I promise we'll be back in time for the ceremony at the Holy Tomb. There is something I must do there. Thank you, my teacher. Father, forgive me for asking this of you. I know how much pain you're in, how the burden of the throne weighs heavily on you. And so, thank you, Father. Now, to complete the imperial succession, you must relinquish your crown here in the throne room. The Archbishop of the Church of Saros would normally act as witness, but my professor will fill that role instead. From this day forward, the weight of the Empire's future shall rest upon my shoulders. All that I do will be for the benefit of the people of Fodlan. In accordance with the ancient covenant, and in keeping with the Hresvelg legacy, I swear that upon this throne, I shall use my reign to lead Fodlan to a new dawn and achieve peace for all. I understand, Father. In those dark times, your eyes and your fists were my salvation. Within your eyes, I saw true care, and upon your fists, clenched tight with indignity, I saw the blood that dripped and fell. Even as I bled, I felt that you too must also be bleeding. Prime Minister, you have misspoken. I am no longer your highness, but rather your majesty. Are dismissed. It will be some time before you are allowed to make contact with the outside world again. Father, thank you for staying by my side, Professor. Now that I'm the Emperor, it's time to grasp my destiny. After the ceremony at the Holy Tomb, I must return to Enbar. This may be the last we see of each other. We are out of time, my teacher. Everyone is waiting for us. We must go. To think that there was such a vast space beneath the monastery all this time. It's hard to imagine that any of these enormous contraptions are of this world. Stop right there! Yes, in fact, I gave the order. I am the Flame Emperor. This was by my order. I am the Flame Emperor. I'm sorry, my teacher. I cut this path, and now I must follow it. My friends, I ask that all of you stay back. It is not my intention to fight you. By order of the Adrestian Emperor, Edelgard von Hresvelg, I command you to collect the crest stones. If anyone attempts to stop us, kill them. So, it is my teacher who stands in my way. I always knew it would come to this. I will withdraw, for now. Come, Hubert. Stay out of my way. I already told you I had nothing to do with that. I have achieved my objective. I will retreat. Farewell, Professor. If we meet again, it will be on the battlefield. The leaders of the Church have misused its creed to fulfill their true desire, to rule the world. They have fooled the people of Fodlan. Long ago, they divided the Empire to create a kingdom, and then divided that kingdom to create an alliance. They did all of this to make the masses bicker amongst themselves. They caused instability in order to reinforce their own authority. They gathered gold and lived in extravagance. How? By preying on the devotion of those who wished for the goddess's salvation. Those corrupt hypocrites cannot lead Fodlan to true peace. Their foul belief system must be torn asunder so that true wisdom may finally prevail. And so, I have decided, by order of the Adrestian Emperor, Edelgard von Hresvelg, the Empire hereby declares war on the Church of Seros. Well, a victory is a victory. Why am I even here? I know they won't come, but here I am anyway. How has it already been 5 years? Time stops for no one, I suppose. Huh? It's you! What are you doing here? For me? Highly doubtful. So you were alive. What have you been doing all this time? Choking at a time like this. Well, if you don't wish to tell me, I won't try to persuade you. All that matters is this. Will you return to the Empire with me? Before you answer, know that friends from our Black Eagle days have chosen to join me in the fight ahead. Hesitation. It betrays your true answer. As expected, I knew your answer before I had even asked the question. That means we're enemies now, you and I. My teacher, the time for discussion has come to an end. I see. So my uncle's defeat is beyond doubt? Pretty words, but I'm afraid we can't rest until the joy outweighs the sorrow. And for that to happen, it now seems we must confront them all at once. Dimitri, who took back Ferdiad, Claude, who managed to protect the Alliance, and that professor, who is successfully mobilizing the Knights of Seros. Pull back our forces. In the west to Arian Road, in the east to Indeed, and dispatch the Death Knight to guard it. He can buy us some time. In the meantime, even I cannot always choose the direction my path leads me. There is no other way. And so, I must walk on. Well, it's been a long time, Professor. And hello to you too, Dimitri. Sorry to disappoint you, Professor. Call it a whim. Well then, what did you want to talk about? It may be hard to believe, but this is the way that leads to the fewest casualties in the end. Don't you see? The longer we took to revolt, the more victims this crooked world would have claimed. I weighed the victims of war against the victims of the world as it is now, and I chose the former. I believe that I have chosen the best path, the only path. You're wrong. That very cycle is exactly what I have devoted my life and my power to destroying. If after all of this you believe the weak will still be weak, that is only because they are too used to relying on others instead of on themselves. So you consider me strong, do you? Even if one clings to their faith, the goddess will never answer them. Countless souls will be lost that way, living without purpose. And I can be counted among those who have died that way as well. But that's why I must change this world, on behalf of the silent and weak. Maybe it is self-righteousness, but it doesn't matter. Someone has to take action and put a stop to this world's endless, blood-stained history. I doubt a highborn person like yourself could know how the poor feel or what motivates them. This is nonsense, though I'm finally starting to understand how you feel. But that makes it even clearer to me that we can never fully understand each other. Goodbye, Dimitri. I remember now. You gave me a dagger all those years ago. Perhaps. At the time, I was quite flustered by such a dangerous gift. I left without giving you a proper response. And that was the last time we saw each other. I'm afraid it will do no good to reminisce, Dimitri. That girl you knew back then is gone. As good as dead. But I'll tell you now what I wasn't able to tell you back then. Thank you, my dear forgotten friend. Because of you, I never lost my heart. As for the future, that will be decided in battle. King of Fargus, as the Emperor, I shall await your arrival in Inbar. The time has nearly come. There's no reason to fret. Besides, it's far too late to second guess. Now, assume your position. I can't promise your safety if you remain here. Ugh. This pain is nothing compared to what I have already suffered. My teacher, Thank you, but are you certain that... No, now isn't the time for discussion. Yes, the monsters that have controlled Fodlan in secret for far too long. Rhea is their leader. We somehow managed to escape. Before we go any further, I want all of you to really ask yourselves if you're certain you wish to join us. As expected, Flayn has chosen to leave our ranks. I think I understand where you're coming from. But now, I wish to hear of your resolve. Like you, I have risen to meet my destiny. I cut this path, and I will see it through to the end. Following me is akin to pointing a sword at the goddess herself. One misstep, and we fall to our ruin. You have now witnessed the Archbishop's true self. She is a cruel beast. Those who rule this world use that beast's power to fabricate miracles, all to control those who blindly believe in the goddess. They conceal the truth and force their lies on the nobility. They mercilessly annihilate anyone who defies them. I know this because I have lived it. After what you have seen, is there any room for doubt? The Church of Seiros has great influence and power. Their control over the lords of the kingdom and the Alliance is nearly absolute. We are the only ones who can stop this indomitable enemy that has plagued our world for ages. We fight for humanity, for all of Fodlan. If you dare walk this path with me, take your first step. It's now or never. Thank you, my friends. We are the true face of the Empire, and we will triumph! Thank you. Honestly, I'm relieved. They really chose to follow me. I was resolved to move forward alone if I had to. But in my heart, I hoped it wouldn't come to that. You're right. Now, I must speak with our dear teacher. Please, make preparations. The messenger should be here shortly. Professor, may I speak with you? I appreciate it. I'm just anxious. It feels like the weight of this burden is crushing me. At this very moment, on my orders, I'm starting a war. An army far larger than the one that attacked the Holy Tomb last month will soon be locked in battle. Long-devised strategies are unfolding across Fodlan. Leaders are deciding their loyalties and preparing to fight. So many generals and soldiers will die. It's inevitable that civilians will get caught up in the chaos as well. There will be countless casualties. With a single command, the flames of war will rage across all corners of this realm. And I am the one who is giving the order. Yes, it is. There is no turning back. No. There is no turning back now. No matter how much blood flows at my feet, I will not relent. We must break the bonds that the depraved church has placed on Fodlan. These sacrifices will allow us to create a future where we never need sacrifice again. It may seem contradictory, but it's the only way. Listen to me. I made up my mind long ago, yet here I am, seeking your approval. Tell me the truth, my teacher. Are you happy with your decision to stay by my side? Unlike me, you can still walk away from all of this. This path leads to the death of the Archbishop and the servants of the Church. Can you live with that? I never thought... I'm sorry, it was a foolish question. I believe in you, Professor. And you believed in me. With that knowledge, I have the strength to keep fighting. Let's go. There's something I need to say to Hubert. We will be distributing our manifesto to every lord within Fodlan. We will expose the dark side of the Church of Seiros and the foul practices of the nobles from the Kingdom and the Alliance. We will force the people of Fodlan to open their eyes to the truth and relinquish any remaining conviction to unite against the Empire. Certain nobles have already offered us their support, and soon we will invade and conquer Garreg Mach. Our main army has already departed the Imperial capital. They will arrive at the monastery in 2 weeks' time. There, we will join forces with them. As for us, I'd like your opinion on how we should be positioned within the army. Now that I'm the Emperor, we can't let it slip that I'm following your command in battle, Professor. Hubert, we've already discussed this. Now that the details are settled, all that's left is to come up with a name for ourselves. In honor of our time at the Academy, how about we call ourselves the Black Eagle Strike Force? I'm so happy you feel that way. I must confess that I spent all night thinking about it. With you as our leader, I'm confident we will. To me, that name represents us soaring toward a new dawn, as freely as an eagle. It seems we have differing tastes. I suppose we'll have to agree to disagree. I'll leave it to you to prepare the Black Eagle Strike Force for departure. We will soon arrive at Garrigmach Monastery. Forcing a surrender here is extremely significant, both strategically and symbolically. Of course, this is personal as well. This is where we all came together to learn and grow. I have no intention of yielding to our former classmates, so I ask that you prepare yourselves for anything. Thank you all. Now, let's talk strategy. We know more about the area near the monastery than anyone else in the Imperial Army. Still, we must prepare for the worst. It's possible we will have to face the Archbishop's true form, the Immaculate One. Fight with all you have, but don't be reckless. As promised, I will leave the command to our professor. This will be our first battle as the Black Eagle Strike Force. All the more reason to prevail. 5 years ago to the day, if things had continued on as they were, today would have been the Millennium Festival. Halt! Who's there? It can't be. Professor? Is it really you? But I searched everywhere and never found a trace. My teacher. What have you been doing all this time? Where have you been? Joking? At a time like this? You do realize it's been 5 years since you disappeared. Do you have any idea how guilty I felt? How broken my heart was? I searched high and low after you vanished. Although there was no proof, I somehow knew you were alive. All this time, I led everyone as best I could, and fought with all my heart. It's been a difficult path to walk alone. Welcome back, my teacher. I'm so happy that you're safe. 5 years. Such a short time, but it feels like an eternity ago. Do you still feel the way you did all those years ago? You said then that you would fight at my side no matter how many enemies we should amass. As for me, my resolve has not faltered. I'm determined as ever to see this through to the end. I will defeat the false goddess. I will save this world from those creatures and give humanity its freedom back. So, my teacher, are you prepared to stand with me? I thank you. Truly. Now then, I assume you understand the situation at hand, yes? Another joke? Or are you telling the truth? I suppose you must be. In that case, I'll tell you all that has transpired as you slumbered these past 5 years. And that is where we are now. The war is at a stalemate. Dimitri is the new king of Fargus. It's clear that his territory will continue to support the church. Meanwhile, Claude's leadership has thrown the alliance into chaos. He maintains neutrality in their internal conflict. The situation has created a deadlock. We've been awaiting an opportunity for our squadron to return to the monastery. With you in the fray, I believe the state of the war will shift immediately. The church, as well as the kingdom and the alliance. The time has come to eliminate them all. Although we were of different houses, we were companions who lived and learned together. Some of our ranks are hesitant to battle against them, and against the people of their homelands. Some of our ranks are hesitant to battle against them. However, knowing that you're alive is sure to raise their spirits. Rhea, Sedith, the knights, and the others are in prime condition. They've set up their base within the kingdom capital. The Immaculate One and her family have yet to fight on the front lines. However, we must eventually face and defeat them. It would mean a great deal to have you with us when the time comes. Good. Well then, I believe it's time for a little reunion. The Black Eagle Strike Force never lost faith. They knew you were alive and have been awaiting your return. Let's not keep them waiting any longer. Quite the reunion, isn't it, Professor? Everyone's happy to see you. We all longed for your presence and your leadership. Myself included. Yes, we must eliminate the Alliance before moving on to fight the kingdom and the church. However, that doesn't necessarily mean we must occupy the entirety of the Alliance. House Regan stands against the Empire. Therefore, our target is Deirdre, the aquatic capital. An Alliance stronghold has been built at the Great Bridge. We'll take that and then head north. At the same time, we must defeat the one who defends it, Judith von Daphne. If we can also take control of Daphne territory, it would be greatly beneficial to us. Prepare yourselves. The next battle will be a momentous one. Join me, my friends, as we begin our journey to bring peace and solace to this war-ravaged world. You have all fought well. With this victory, we now have a foothold in the Alliance. The Imperial Army will cross the Aramid River and push the front lines forward. The fight will continue. But do not allow that to stop you from taking pride in our hard-won victory. Ferdinand, it is not necessary to tell the professor such things. You make it sound as though I can't run the Empire on my own. Perhaps it's more apt to say that the Pegasus has recovered its horn. Do you not feel the same, Hubert? Come now, be honest with yourself. Now, we must take advantage of the situation and blaze ahead. Our path is still a long one. Professor, what is your opinion of Claude? I can't help but wonder what sort of impression he made on you. That is inarguable, and his schemes are still going strong. With them, he's managed to keep the Leicester Alliance from the Empire's grasp. That much is obvious. He acts like a fool, but still manages to make the impossible happen. That's as true now as ever. He's managed to protect the Leicester Alliance with his cunning alone. Interesting. I've never thought of him like that. However, I know you have a keen eye for potential. After all, as leader of the Leicester Alliance, he has managed to protect his entire territory all this time. Since the beginning, territories within the Alliance have been split between those who support the Empire and those who oppose it. Claude has been acting as an intermediary between the two, essentially keeping the Alliance pacified. As both sides are of equal strength, he's created a situation in which they've all agreed to avoid fighting each other and causing undue bloodshed. By carrying on as though the Alliance is united, he's minimized the Empire's influence there. Is that so? Deirdre, the aquatic capital. A city floating on the ocean certainly poses a challenge. Since it's deep within Regan territory, we haven't had the opportunity to attack it directly. However, now that we have control of the Great Bridge of Myrden, our situation has changed drastically. They can no longer expand their supply line into the Empire, and so we can finally attack Regan territory. It's almost time to depart. Are you ready? A promising answer. Whatever happens, never allow your foe to see any weakness. I agree that Claude will prove a difficult foe. Still, do not speak such words right before a battle. We must pay close attention not only to Claude's schemes, but to the man himself. He's a master archer who wields the legendary bow, Fail Not. He won't fall easily. It's the relic of House Regan. That bow once belonged to one of the 10 elites. Professor, do you know the true story behind the legend? The relics were created by the hands of mankind. Saros collected them after killing the 10 elites. Saros manipulated the people of the world and defeated the all-powerful King Nemesis. That's the history the Church of Saros maintains. In reality, it was little more than a simple dispute. The Church maintains the false history that he was corrupted and turned evil. However, it was little more than a simple dispute. Should the one leading the people of the world be someone with humanity, or a creature that can merely masquerade as a human at will? In the end, Saros was victorious. The Immaculate One and her family then took control of Fodlan. I know this because that knowledge is passed down from emperor to emperor, and that is because the first emperor is the human who cooperated with Saros, allowing humanity to be controlled in secret. Perhaps it's fate that you can wield the sword of the Creator, just like Nemesis, the King of Liberation, and that very fate will lead you to use that sword to stand against those who would distort history. Claude, you want me to drop my guard around someone who evaded detection by my soldiers? Impossible. Did you really risk coming here just to say hello? It's as you say. So long as you remain here, the faction of the Alliance that is against the Empire will continue to support you. Wait, did your scheming include a plan for if the Alliance lost? Claude, we crushed him in battle and yet... he really is difficult to understand. Deirdre is ours. The Alliance has collapsed and their leader has fallen. I agree. However, if Claude had lived, the faction of the Alliance that is against the Empire would never have stopped fighting us. If Claude had lived, the faction of the Alliance that is against the Empire would never have stopped fighting us. To keep the bloodshed to a minimum, he had to be taken out of the equation. However, now that it's over, I can't help but wonder if he was in complete control of that entire situation. What will become of the Alliance without him? He must have taken that into account. Without the rule of House Regan, and with most of that territory left unscathed, the Alliance will undoubtedly ally itself with the Empire. The citizens' lives will be saved from ruin, and no more blood will be shed. Perhaps that's what he wanted from the start. Of course, if his plan here in Deirdre had worked and I had lost my life, the opposite would have come to pass. The Empire would have rushed to the Alliance without further conflict, no matter how the battle unfolded. Claude secured the shortest, most peaceful outcome possible. Yes, thank you, Hubert. Thanks to all of your efforts, our battle with the Alliance has reached its conclusion. However, we still can't afford to be careless. We must now join the battle against the Kingdom. With the strength of the Church on their side, they will prove to be a formidable enemy. More than ever, your support is invaluable. We'll need it in the days to come. But for now, let's enjoy our triumphant return. Of course, though it seems we can now attack the Kingdom without issue. Let him do as he pleases for now. It's not yet the time to chide him. What about House Rowe in Arian Road, the fortress city? Will they not side with us? I see. Then it might prove too difficult to strike Ferdiad right away. That part of the plan remains unchanged. Professor, is something wrong? Yes, I don't imagine that you have much interest in a running list of noble names. But it matters not. The nobility and the weight of all those names will be gone once the war is over. This month we must again put all of our effort into preparing for battle. I'm counting on you, my teacher. Professor, you didn't hear anything just now, did you? Of course I am. It's nothing at all. Cute! Huh. Well, be that as it may, it is not your concern. It was nothing. I told you it was nothing and I meant it. Cute? Well, be that as it may, it's not your concern. It was nothing. You seem to be trying your hardest to infuriate me. Don't you dare say that again. It's just, well, there was a rat. I don't enjoy the company of rats. I believe I've told you about this before. About when I was held captive beneath the palace. There were a lot of rats there. To this day, I just... What? Oh, Professor, leave here at once. I recall now that Hubert needs to speak with me. I must change my clothes. Now, whatever you do, don't look this way. Then forget what you saw. That's an order. From the north? Interesting. Could it be they journeyed through Aelel, the Valley of Torment? Is the Archbishop among the enemy ranks? If so, focus our attacks on her first. Our enemy knows Garrigmok inside and out. They can come and go as they please. It would have been best if we had detected them sooner, but that can't be helped. Professor, we must hurry and intercept them ourselves. I'll leave the preparations to you. I must head out first to give my orders. I'll meet up with you soon. Call for General Randolph and General Ladislava. Hurry! Silence. We must tend to your wounds. Understood. Good work. Another loss on my watch, as more blood wets my feet. They grow heavier with each step. Remorse, resentment, despair. I have dispensed with all such things to come this far. Hubert, tell me the status of the enemy. Yes, we'll call that a victory. Although, I'm sure they will say the same. Professor, the battle is over now. Excellent job, everyone. The battle is over now. While we have sustained heavy losses, our foe has suffered far more. We will break through the Tailteen Plains and then set course for Ferdiad, the Kingdom capital. The final chapter of our fight with the Kingdom and the Church is close at hand. The time has finally come to invade the Kingdom capital, or so I declared. In truth, we'll be advancing to a different location. Only you and the rest of the Black Eagle Strike Force can know. Please bear that in mind. There are many mages within Arian Road. We will also face Cornelia, a general of the kingdom. We must also contend with Rodrigue, the head of House Fraldarius, as well as his troops. Once we defeat them, Aryan Road will be ours. When Aryan Road falls, we'll focus on striking Ferdiad from both the south and the east. The deeper we carve our way into kingdom and church territory, the more favorable our position. As ever, I'm counting on you, my teacher. However, the head of House Rowe secretly planned to betray the Empire. As the fortress neared completion, it was rebuilt as a base to defend against the Empire. When the fortress was completed, House Rowe declared its vassalage to the kingdom. Thank you, everyone. I'm counting on all of you. Now, let's resume our advance. What turn of events has brought you so suddenly to Garreg Mach, Uncle? I'm happy to have earned your praise. However, to say that I deceived my allies is a bit misleading. I despise leaks of information. And there may have been a church rat hiding amongst our ranks. Professor, don't joke about that. The only ones we came to kill were our enemies. Indeed, we came only to kill our enemies. She used a terrible magic weapon. Dolls that she could move and fight with. Did you know about them? Thank you for your concern. However, I will sweep aside any darkness that comes our way. Another Aryan Road. Just what do you mean? Disintegrated? Hubert, give me the full report. It can't be true. So, this is my uncle's trump card. In exchange for striking down Cornelia, he has destroyed Aryan Road. No. If we'll be fighting them soon, there's no disadvantage to weakening their forces. It's also extremely valuable that we forced them to show their hand. Hubert, the investigation you made into the legend of Aelel, the Valley of Torment, this is likely what took place back then as well. By gifting us that knowledge, those who died at Aryan Road will not have died in vain. True. We'll conceal this from everyone as best we can. I trust you, my teacher. I'm sure everyone has heard about what transpired at Aryan Road. The Church has displayed their cowardice by indiscriminately using forbidden practices to kill the residents there. Their victims also include members of House Rowe, the Imperial Army, and many, many more. A cornered animal is at its most deadly. We must move quickly. Next, we march through the Tailteen Plains. After that, we destroy Ferdiad. At that time, complete Imperial control over Fodlan will finally be a reality. They will try to intercept us. Of course, Ferdiad will not fall so easily. Even so, if we were to cut off their supply line with a large army, it would eventually fall. It makes much more sense for them to wager everything on a victory at the Tailteen Plains. The same plains where the so-called divine Saros defeated Nemesis, the King of Liberation, in a comeback victory over 1,000 years ago. And about 400 years ago, the hero Lug created the kingdom by defeating the Emperor of the time on those very plains. Their goal must be to recreate that scene. Are you telling me to stay off the battlefield? And you must know that, at a time like this, I absolutely cannot withdraw. The Immaculate One, descendants of the 10 elites, and other extremely fearsome foes await us. But with the help of our friends, we have a chance of defeating them. We're the only ones who can. Within our group, I am included among those with the kind of strength we need to win. I absolutely will not remove myself from the front lines. Professor, you have that same strength as well, whether or not you realize it yet. As Emperor, I must not die in this war, and it would be unacceptable to lose you as well. Please, don't get yourself killed trying to protect me. Until the very end, we'll survive this trial together. Understood? A flag of blue is flapping in the rain. It must be the Kingdom Army. I can't imagine that Dmitri would leave the capital to the Church and face us with the Kingdom Army alone. He must be planning to use the Church to gain the upper hand in battle. With the rain, that must be difficult to coordinate. Still, the Knights of Saros must be around here somewhere. A fair fight. The words alone remind me of how he once was. Don't you agree, Professor? Oh, have you forgotten already? Dmitri often spoke of such things back at the monastery. Yes, he often spoke of such things back at the monastery. Of all the people in the world, why would talk of a fair fight remind you of Claude? I'm talking about Dmitri. Have you forgotten? He often spoke of such things back at the monastery. True. As soon as we can take our battle formation, we must advance. Dmitri, that past you cling to, I will soon free you from it. Your obsession with me is appalling. If you were a normal human, you would most certainly have died already. Farewell, King of Delusion. If only we were born in a time of peace, you might have lived a joyful life as a benevolent ruler. Rhea. She is our enemy, but I must admit that she plays her cards magnificently. That's true, but she also shows great skill in devising her tactics, using the bewildered kingdom army as a shield while she and the knights retreated. If they ran all the way back to Ferdiad, it will be very difficult to pursue them. If you're low on confidence, Professor, I'll put an end to this myself. Actually, that's what I'd like to say. But in truth, I hope to confront them with you at my side. Yes. Together, we'll end this once and for all the lives lost in battle, by our allies and foes alike, and for Dimitri as well. Yes, the thirst for revenge that imprisoned him was the result of my uncle's strategy. He believed that I was the cause of everything, and he lost sight of his path as king. There was nothing I could do to save him. And so, the very least I could do was... No. The Edelgard who shed tears died many years ago. Everything that's happened, it's all just part of the ebb and flow of history. The tragedy of Duscur, our days at the academy, Father's death, and the 5 years you were gone. After all of that, at long last, we're here, at this point in time. I hope you'll stay by my side until the very end. It's time for humanity to take this world back. Why are you here, Uncle? We haven't prevailed just yet. Understood. Behold to your heart's content. Just don't get in our way. Not completely. I will only do what I must. But until our reign becomes stable, Uncle, no, all of you, I believe that your power and knowledge may be essential during that time of transition. Yes, we're counting on you. For now. Professor, may I speak with you? I know the timing is less than ideal, but there's something I need to tell you. I imagine you've already sensed it, but even still, I must tell you the truth. Of the power you wield and of what you are. I expected as much. Have you still yet to realize it? If so, then it's absolutely vital that I tell you. You, like Rhea, share a bloodline with the so-called goddess. Your mother likely had some connection to the goddess, whose power has always been sleeping within you. 5 years ago, when your power awakened, I was afraid you would choose to join with Rhea. I did. As you know, my goal is to free our world from the control of Rhea and the other children of the goddess. Yes, in the sealed forest, when you returned from the eternal darkness. As you know, my goal is to free our world from the control of Rhea and the other children of the goddess. I seek to obliterate her, as well as those around her who use the Church's power to control Fodlan. I swore to free the people from Rhea by striking her down, whether or not it meant making an enemy of you. And yet, you came to my aid and chose to walk with me on the path against Rhea. I was overjoyed, of course. But I was also confused. I thought that perhaps it wasn't the path you were meant to take, but I chose to trust in you, to rely on you and your strength. And now, here we are. Of course. Thank you for listening, my teacher. I'm glad I finally had the chance to talk to you about it. After Rhea is gone from this world, I don't know what will become of you, but whatever happens, I hope you know that you're very special to me. You are the one person in this world who can share the heavy burden I must carry. Someone without equal, who I can always speak my mind to. I hope that I hold a special place in your heart as well. But regardless, it's time. Let's go, Professor. Rhea, members of the Church of Seros. Surely there's no need to continue this fight. What could be gained by shutting yourselves inside the capital of a kingdom without a king? I will give you this one chance, and no other. Throw down your weapons and surrender. Unlike you, I have no desire to unleash wicked atrocities upon this world. I'll wait just a moment longer. There are still many residents within the city. Unlike my attack on Garrick Mach 5 years ago, the Church will not allow the inhabitants to evacuate. What the hell are they planning? That ghastly voice. What? Damn it, Rhea. There really is no depth you wouldn't sink to. Everyone, we must commence our attack at once. Are you ready? Then we attack. We'll head straight for the castle and strike down their leader, Rhea, that vile creature called the Immaculate One. This is the end of our long war. After this victory, Fodlan will finally be united and truly free. The capital we're about to invade is engulfed in flames. Do not rush to your deaths. Survive. Prevail. Do that and we'll witness the birth of a new world. I want to see it with all of you at my side. Understood? Imperial Army! Black Eagle Strike Force! Move out! There. We must rethink the supply route now that the battle lines have moved. This one will be Hubert, and Count Burgleys will oversee this force here. Ah, Professor, is something wrong? Sorry, I thought I had a bit more time before the council meeting. True, though ideally I'd like to hand off anything I can to my subordinates. But while we're on the front lines, I can't help but worry about every little thing. No bother at all, but I'm afraid I'm not quite finished here. Still, I'm happy to see you. Your presence lightens my mood a great deal. Now, let's see. What's happened? Normally, House Goneril watches over the fortress. In times of trouble, the lords join together to protect it. But I assume it would be too difficult to defend against this incursion with only the troops of Goneril. Holst is a formidable commander. It's only logical that House Goneril would struggle in his absence. The alliance is shattered. They can't request soldiers from the surrounding lords, and the Imperial troops stationed there can't be relocated so easily. The best course of action is for us to go out there and deal with this ourselves. It's critical for us to protect that location. This is our chance to prove that we won't allow it to fall. We'll depart after you finish making preparations. Move swiftly. We must move before the Almiran army crosses the throat. Yes, preparations must still be made. We'll wait a bit longer. If you're not going to join us, we'll take those who are able and willing. Don't worry about it. The Almiran army retreated. Their casualties were numerous. As I understand it, they won't be attempting another invasion anytime soon. Still, we must prepare the local troops before their enemy returns. Indeed. But if possible, I would like to foster amicable relations with them. That is my hope. I would even consider a treaty. Unlike Fodlan, Almira is not a land ruled by blind fealty to the goddess. I believe we need only to communicate openly with them and respect the differences between our cultures. If we do that, we should be able to have a meaningful dialogue with them, one more promising than what we can expect from followers of the goddess. Ah, Hubert, what did Duke Goneril say? Is that so? How reasonable of him. By the way, what was it that ailed Holst? I can't help but imagine what that must look like. But it's probably better not to think about it. Indeed. Well, then maybe you should pay a visit. And then you could tell me what it looked like. There's only one option, then. I must pay a visit on my own and see this ailment with my own eyes. Actually, on second thought, I'd better not. As Emperor, I can't risk it. Our professor is sneaking off alone. Where to, I wonder? Intrigued, are we? Yes, let's do just that. We will consider it extra training. I'm glad that you are safe, Professor. It was rather reckless of you to venture out alone like that. Still, I would like to know what brought you to this valley in the first place. Thank you for this. I appreciate it. Interesting choice. May I ask you something? Ah, understood. Is that so? Sorry I asked. As expected. How shameful. I'm improving. Thanks to you, I still have much to learn. Who knew this power slept within? It will be easier together, shall we? Let's finish this quickly. This should be easy enough. We can do this. I am ready. Together we won't fail. Shall we? Let's finish this quickly. This should be easy enough. We can do this. I am ready. Our results speak volumes. We did it, and without incident. I have a favor to ask. I knew I could count on you. Nothing worth celebrating. I failed to focus. Praise isn't necessary. Really. Thank you. It won't happen again. A bit harsh, don't you think? Thank you for this. I appreciate it. Interesting choice. May I ask you something? Understood. Is that so? Sorry I asked. As expected. How shameful. I'm improving. Thanks to you. I still have much to learn. Who knew this power slept within? It will be easier together. Shall we? Let's finish this quickly. This should be easy enough. We can do this. I am ready. Together we won't fail. Shall we? Let's finish this quickly. This should be easy enough. We can do this. I am ready. Our results speak volumes. We did it, and without incident. I have a favor to ask. I knew I could count on you. Nothing worth celebrating. I failed to focus. Praise isn't necessary, really. Thank you. It won't happen again. A bit harsh, don't you think? To be left behind. Unacceptable. I must get stronger. It's a long road yet. One step at a time. That won't do it all. Have I reached the limit? I won't forget all I've learned. My efforts were not in vain. I'm getting closer. I've mastered this art. A new power to wield. I must grow into this new role. How best to use this strength? My teacher, leave me behind. You must lead the others onward. I've done all I can.
I must retreat for now. My ambitions are within reach. I must outwit even death. I've no time to idle. It's not enough. My ambitions are sated, for now. Now, to put this skill to use. Each milestone informs the next. Another skill refined. My efforts are paying off. Anything to grow stronger. Challenge begets victory. With this power, I will cut my own path.
So, you've accepted a teaching position here. Pity. I was hoping you would lend your strength to the Empire. I never properly introduced myself, did I? My name is Edelgard von Hresvelk. I am the princess and heir apparent of the Adrestian Empire. I wonder if you'll be tasked with leading the Black Eagles. Some believe the dignity of the Empire rests on the results of the mock battle. That's an overstatement, of course. Still, we must do our best to prevail. You should take the time to learn each student's abilities. Perhaps some extra lessons and training sessions are in order? I trust you're eager to face the Black Eagles in battle. Enjoy the thrill of anticipation while it lasts. Soon you'll wish you had chosen to lead our house instead. For some students, this will be their first time stepping onto a real battlefield. It's important that they're mentally prepared. As for me, do I look green to you? You're quite powerful to have beaten us in the mock battle. Such a shame you aren't leading our class. Even within the Knights of Seros, Catherine is the strongest. By a large margin from what I've gathered. Why not seek her out as a sparring partner, Professor? Lord Lonato must know that his efforts are futile. Yet he can't help but fight. If I were in that situation, I would do whatever it took to ensure victory. You can count on that. Our enemy's true target. What could it be? The monastery has been around for nearly a millennium. It's only logical that there are secrets here. We'd better investigate. Would you mind asking around and seeing what you can dig up? Once you've uncovered some leads, we'll regroup. We need more information. Is there anyone else you could talk to? There's a place that the church values above all others. On the day of the rite, it will be open to the public. That will make it much easier than usual to access. You must be joking. Precisely. We can't know for certain, but it's a distinct possibility that the Holy Mausoleum is our enemy's target. Oh, have you been tasked with guarding the monastery as well? Such a stir over a single letter. But I suppose the Archbishop's safety is too important to risk. For a hero's relic to be stolen, it's unheard of. Also quite unheard of. What impudence. We must begin our search for Flame, Professor. If she ran off of her own free will, that's her business. But that may not be the case. For her sake, I suggest we assume that she was abducted and begin an investigation. Who benefits from kidnapping her? Let's gather all the information we can on anyone who's been acting strangely. Manuela ran off with Yuritsa's mask? We'll have to speak with both of them. But where could Manuela be? Yuritsa is likely at the training grounds, or in his quarters on the eastern side of the Knight's Hall. Flame is missing. We should split up and search for her. There isn't a moment to waste. We must find her before it's too late. Do you need something? I'm a little busy at the moment. They say that things rarely, if ever, go according to plan. Still, plan we must. After all, if we don't effectively force things to go our way, nothing will be achieved. How about you, Professor? Are you leading the life you envisioned for yourself? Your character must be stronger than most. That's surprising. But I suppose it's possible you're telling the truth. Everyone's in such a festive mood. I feel a bit out of my element here. I can't help but worry something might happen while we're all distracted. After all, our enemies are always plotting. Still, this air of levity is much more agreeable than the grim atmosphere of late. By the way, have you chosen our house's representative for the White Heron Cup? If nobody else comes to mind, I'm willing to take up the challenge, Professor. Understood. Just leave this to me and victory is assured. I see. If you believe there's someone more qualified, I certainly won't object. Well, I suppose we should practice then. Shall we? How was that? I believe I've improved my technique. Well, let's practice whenever you can spare the time. Agreed? I knew victory was inescapable. And you believed in me too. Losing is never easy, even at something as insignificant as dance. I suppose I should have trained harder. Professor, I'm so happy to see you. You're finally returning to your old self. To see the light in your eyes again is a gift. It inspires me to carry on as well. As you know, the Knights are searching furiously for any trace of the enemies who escaped. I'll inform you immediately if I learn anything relevant. What happened to Gerald? It's terrible. If there's anything I can do, simply ask. Even if what you desire is revenge. I'll gladly lend you my power. We can't let them get away with this. Thank you for coming all the way to the Imperial capital, Professor. The announcement of my enthronement is imminent. Until then, can you please keep it to yourself? There are many preparations that must be made before the news spreads. I believe Hubert will be occupied and away from the monastery for much of this month. I have returned, Professor. All that needed to be done has been done. I really hoped you would join me in Enbar, but sometimes your path takes you far away from where you wish to go. We will join forces with the main army and attack Garreg Mach. It's a fortress built on steep ground, but it's never seen battle. That means we don't know much about it from a military perspective. But if we use all of the power at our disposal, we will capture it. From a purely mathematical standpoint, we most certainly have the power to win. If the battle becomes a clash of beasts within human strength, you will be our only hope. I believe in you. I'm relying on you to lead the Black Eagle Strike Force to victory. Professor, I'm sorry to have dragged you into the fight again so soon after our reunion, but you appeared at a most opportune time. I'm truly humbled by your support, my teacher. Thank you. And so I will. I'm hoping your abilities from 5 years prior are still intact. You may be worried, but you shouldn't be. You always manage to pull through. Make sure you're ready to head out, okay? I wish we could settle all of this before the fighting begins, don't you? I wish it dearly. But few others feel that way. They fight in a bloody battle, take countless lives, and then finally come to understand defeat. They refuse to admit when they're beaten, and they keep it up until they've been utterly defeated. Of course, I understand that sacrifice is inevitable, but if they're going to surrender after being defeated anyway, why raise a weapon in the first place? If the Alliance falls, then the kingdom will... There's no time to waste. If we hesitate, we risk losing the initiative. I do think we should let the troops rest, though. We must maintain morale, Professor, and let's make sure this matter stays between us. If it gets out, I'll struggle to forgive even you. It seems you don't comprehend the consequences of angering the Emperor. Thank you.
Professor, halt! Don't come in here.
I thought I told you to forget about that. There's something I don't want you to see. So, you know about it. Yes, it's a portrait of you. I painted it myself. It's, quite disgraceful. I did a terrible job with it, and it looks nothing like you. I'm happy that you appreciate my efforts, but please don't touch that door. This month, we will take all of the military force we can muster and advance to the kingdom capital of Ferdiad. I have no intention of retreating to Garreg Mach after we've come this far. We will only return after we've conquered Ferdiad and put an end to this war. Be sure to steel your heart and ready yourself for the battle ahead. Are you certain? If so, please help me raise the morale of our allies. I'm sorry to burden you, but please look after our allies as well. We have no choice. I have every faith that you are capable of this.
Father, save... No. Who's there?
Professor, what are you doing here? Oh? Perhaps I was talking in my sleep. What could that possibly mean? In any case, please don't scare me like that. So you heard me then. Yes, it was a nightmare. I've had them since I was a child. Stupid, pointless dreams I can't control. It's terribly frustrating. Just my childhood. A time before I had realized who I was destined to become. No, they're just worthless dreams of the past. Talking about it won't change a thing. I had a feeling you'd say that. I suppose I could try. Perhaps not. Still, here you are. Maybe I can trust you with this, but only if you swear not to tell a soul. I appreciate it. I dream of my older brother, paralyzed, helpless. My older sister crying for help that never came. The youngest babbling words beyond meaning. I see my family dying slowly, waiting in the darkest depths for a glimmer of light. I once had 10 siblings, 8 older and 2 younger. Such a large family, and yet I became the heir to the throne. Do you know why? Every last one of them was crippled by disease, or lost their mind, or died. I was the only one left who could inherit the throne. Things kept getting worse. The darkness kept getting darker. In the end, I was the only one who survived. The nightmares are a reminder to never forget, to never allow such terrible things to happen again. Even now, I'm the only one who can carry the weight of the Adrestian Empire. The future of the Empire, of everything, depends on me. I shared more than I intended to. I suppose there's something in the air tonight. I've never told anyone about my past before. Please, forget I said anything. Sleep well, my teacher. Oh, it's you. Out late again, I see. What brings you here? I just wanted some fresh air. There's a lovely breeze tonight. I always wander outside when sleep evades me. Is it that obvious? I despise being cooped up when sleep evades me. I just have to get some fresh air. So I see. Still, it's ill-advised to stay up so late. I see. Well, don't let me keep you. Hurry back to your room, my teacher. I should get some sleep too, but have you ever felt a sort of longing for the outdoors? I have. There are times I long for the warmth of the sun, for a sweet breeze on my face. Do you remember what I told you the other night? About my past? None of my siblings had a chance to lead the sort of life they deserved. An ordinary life. Well, perhaps if I tell you more, it will come back to you. My siblings and I we were imprisoned underground, beneath the palace. The objective was to endow our bodies with the power of a major crest. I have always possessed the crest of Saros, inherited through the Hresvelg bloodline, but it was only a minor crest. And most of my siblings bore no crest at all. In order to create a peerless emperor to rule Fodlan, they violated our bodies by cutting open our very flesh. Now here I stand, the fruit of that endeavor. Edelgard von Hresvelg. But that came at too high a price. The others were sacrificed. Ours weren't the only lives devastated by that terrible process. Innocents died as well, without even knowing what they were dying for. And there you have it. The truth of the Hresvelg's empire. The Prime Minister and his gaggle of nobles. They had the empire under their thumbs. My father, the emperor, tried to stop him, but it was futile. My father was nothing but a puppet on a string by then. He was powerless to save us. I know how it all sounds. But when you see my true strength, you will know I speak the truth. It is. But when you see my true strength, you will know that I speak the truth. I have kept it hidden all this time, but I will reveal to you the power of my second crest. It is the same as yours. The crest of flames. When it manifested for me, I swore a silent oath. For the sake of my family, and for all the poor souls whose lives were traded for my existence. For their sake, I will build a world where such meaningless sacrifice is never again sanctioned. As Emperor, I will change the world. I swear it. Ugh, I'm so sick of it all. There is so much to be done, yet all I encounter are new problems and pitfalls. Sometimes I wish I could spend just one day doing absolutely nothing and gorging myself on sweets. Even I have moments of self-indulgence, you know. You sound just like Hubert. Am I not allowed a fleeting moment of self-indulgence? Do you mean it? Just the thought makes me happy. But Hubert would never allow it. Indeed. It may not be possible now, but one day we will know the joys of idling. Mark my words. Is that a smirk I spy? Is it so amusing to you, me daydreaming of free time? I see. I'm finally getting an idea of what you think of me. Your silly grin says otherwise. But let's put all that aside for now. There is something I've been meaning to tell you. I'm afraid this might sound a bit sentimental. However, I want to thank you. Because of you, I feel I can walk my fated path without losing myself. If I were alone, I might have lost perspective and become a harsh leader with a heart of ice. But I'm not alone. With you by my side, I'm somehow free to be not only a leader, but simply Edelgard. But you came back to me. With you by my side, I'm somehow free to be not only a leader, but simply Edelgard. True. I'm fortunate to be surrounded by many wonderful companions. Nevertheless, you are different from the rest. Until now, no one has been able to surpass me, much less command me. I have always been seen as an untouchable princess or emperor. No one spoke to me as an equal or met my gaze without flinching. It was lonely, terribly lonely. The only person I could rely on as I tried to claw my way out of the darkness was myself. But you have been a brilliant light. Somehow you have chased the darkness away. And for that, I will always be grateful.
Yes? Oh, it's you, Professor. I was certain it was Hubert coming to drag me back to my duties. Your Majesty, you must know your supreme talents are needed at present. Why not gaze at these documents instead of the sky? Doesn't it? And the worst part is that he's always right, so I can't even argue with him. No? Well then. And here I thought my Hubert impression was second to none. But that's enough about Hubert for the moment. While I have your attention, I'd like to thank you for your help in that last battle. As you well know, I'm perfectly capable of commanding the army by myself. However, when you're around, it's somehow different. I'm not sure I can properly explain it. I suppose your perspective on the battlefield is simply sharper than mine. When you're devising tactics and tricks for us, it's almost as though you can read the enemy's mind. There's no getting around it. Your talent for strategy far exceeds my own. I'm quite jealous, in all honesty. Is that a fact? Well, if you insist. I suppose a flower from another's field is always more beautiful. I'll admit, I think of you as rather detached, so to hear that you have emotions such as jealousy is something of a relief. Oh, but you are. Don't even try to argue, but I suppose I'm much the same. I've also distanced myself from the ordinary world. I can't deny it. Ever since I underwent those procedures, I've certainly distanced myself from the ordinary world. Friends. That word somehow doesn't seem adequate. Besides, we've been friends for a long time, you and I. By now, we're so much more than that, at least in my mind. You know, instead of Edelgard, you can call me just Elle. If you so please. That's what my parents and closest sisters used to call me when I was little. Now there's no one left who calls me Elle. But with you, well, I think I could allow it. In fact, it would mean a great deal to me. Why? Well, you have stood beside me and shared my burdens. As I said, you are much more than a friend. In truth, you are like family to me. I suppose that's why. The children of the goddess have been defeated at last. The shape of the world will be forever changed. Humanity is free now. The world is ours once again. Can you believe it? I see. Well, one thing is certain. The fate of this world depends on the choices we make. It's possible that people would have been happier continuing to mindlessly obey the goddess. Our work is far from over, and we can't ignore the possibility that our enemies will resurface one day. True. There is still much to be done. We can't ignore the possibility that our enemies will resurface one day. In the end, the fate of this world depends on the choices we make. I don't know what the future holds, but come what may, will you stay by my side? You chose to protect me at the Holy Tomb. Will you choose me again? What I'm trying to say is, I need you. You called me Elle. That means more than I can say. And this ring, it's lovely. Thank you, my dearest friend. I will happily accept it, I must admit. I feared my feelings would be unrequited. So long as I had you by my side, it never mattered how many enemies I amassed. You were all I needed. All this time, I longed to share my feelings with you. And it seems you wished for the same. Now, our wishes have come true. This feeling, it's overwhelming. I promise the same. Together we can achieve anything. Absolutely not. I won't allow it. From now on, we face the world and carry our burdens together. We will crush those who slither in the dark and restore peace and order to Fodlan. I will then find a suitable successor and hand over the reins of the Empire. When all that is done, it will be just the two of us. I look forward to starting our life together in the light of a glorious new dawn. It will be a long and difficult path, I'm afraid. But we must remain focused on our goals. Yes, that is all we can do for now. We must remain focused on our goals. To think that I may truly call you my partner and equal now. The solitary reign of Edelgard has come to an end. From now on, we walk this path together. With time and care, the darkness shrouding this world will be lifted. You and I will become the light that shines over Fodlan, just as you have shined upon my life.
Ah, here you are. Are you waiting for someone? Good. I would not wish to interrupt anything. For me, well, you should have summoned me earlier. Regardless, here I am. No, nothing in particular. In fact, that's why I came here. This place, the Goddess Tower. It was special to my parents. My father attended the Officers' Academy himself. A few years after graduating, he was crowned emperor. One day, during a visit to the monastery, he snuck into the Goddess Tower on a nostalgic whim. And there she was, my mother, She had just enrolled in the academy that very year. They were instantly drawn to each other. Love at first sight, you could say. It was the first time either had truly been in love. Or so the story goes. Yes. Of course, as emperor, my father had already married for political reasons. As the empire demands many heirs, he also had numerous other lovers. In the end, my mother settled for becoming one of his many consorts. But I choose to believe there was genuine love between them. I suppose it's a silly story to cling to, isn't it? It's a shame that the lovely stories ended after I was born. For as long as I can remember, my mother had already been exiled from the capital. It's strange. Something about you makes me reveal all of the things I so carefully keep concealed. For some reason, I feel compelled to tell you all of these things I have kept hidden. I can't say the name, but it was a noble who I met in the kingdom, a lifetime ago. Anyway, what about you? It's your turn to reveal some long-held secret. You can share a story about your past, or perhaps tell me about your first love. You're telling the truth. I can tell. I wasn't even able to make you blush. You realize that just makes me more curious than ever. No, I'm the one who should apologize. It wasn't my intention to pry. I'm just intrigued by you and your mysterious past. You have supposedly always been a mercenary, but I believe there's more to your story than that. Let's leave it there for today and return to the ball. There must be plenty of students hoping to talk with you and to dance with you. I would not wish to prevent you from mingling. I cannot keep you all to myself, after all. Sometimes I wonder if your life could have taken you down a different path. If you had never met me and entered my service, you might have had a more peaceful... I understand you well. Better than anyone. But when I see you at the monastery, studying with the others, it makes me wonder what kind of life you might have had without me. That's all. I feel the same way. I see. Then I won't speak of such things again. If it's really what you want, I'll gladly keep you by my side. The path I must walk is soaked in blood. It's a path that can lead to madness, can snatch away one's future, and can even take one's life. And the pool of blood at my feet is growing larger. Those stains can never be washed clean. We've come such a long way. After all, I was only 4 years old when we first met. Please don't mock me with such frivolous praise. I can hardly recall that day. I had no idea. But House Vestra has served House Hresvelg for generations. Given that, I suppose I shouldn't be surprised. When my uncle, Lord Arundel, defected to the kingdom and took me with him. I've never heard that story before. So there are things you've never told me. That's beside the point. I wish to know these things. If there's anything else you're keeping from me, please tell me at once. Why? It's a simple order. I really must Wait just a moment! I just hope he's not hiding anything too worrisome. Hubert, I can't shake the feeling that you're keeping more secrets from me. I remember. However, I am the Emperor now. If the Minister of the Imperial Household does not obey his orders, I have the right to execute him. I see. Then you are unwilling to obey my orders as Emperor? You know I would never do such a thing, and that I pay no heed to the title you bear. It is your own presence and capabilities that I value so highly, Hubert. Titles are meaningless next to such things. Our families have no bearing on this matter, nor does the Empire itself. As Emperor, I'm obliged to accept that answer. However, as your friend, it irritates me to no end. You speak often of painting the path I walk. Yet you do so in secret. I am the one you serve, but you refuse to let me in. I trust you, Hubert, and that is precisely why I want to know everything. Your secret hopes and burdens. All of it. If I'm truly the center of your world, then I wish you would trust me as well as I trust you. Wait a moment. Are you saying you have romantic feelings for someone? Well, that's utter nonsense. You can't possibly keep something so fascinating from me. Who is it? You? In love? Whoever could it... Oh, I've got it! I should have known all along! Enough teasing. Tell me her name, Hubert. Hubert, you never cease to surprise me. Is that so? Was the Emperor of the time. She wagered the throne in a duel against Derek and won.
Why don't we do what our ancestors did and have a little duel ourselves?
That's what you were going to say. But the answer is no. My apologies, Ferdinand. Ferdinand, control yourself. When will you tire of challenging me in pointless competitions? You expect me to believe that? I'm afraid to ask what you could possibly mean by that. This has to stop. Perhaps I should have ended things with a duel after all. Standing tall, I see. Oh, what a lovely bloom. Ferdinand? Stop. I can't believe you're wasting my time with a petty, one-sided rivalry. I've had enough of your foolish antics. Very well. I will grant you the duel you so desperately desire. But when I win, you must forfeit the right to bother me with your ridiculousness. Forever. Do we have a deal? As you wish. Ha! I can't afford to hold back against an opponent like you. I led with my fastest, strongest strike. The difference in our skill level is not so great as all that. If you had taken the first strike, you might have won. That's why I didn't give you the chance. Ferdinand. Hello, Ferdinand. You seem to be in a good mood. Have you now? Well, I'm glad to hear it. You really are in a good mood. Your determination is admirable. Ferdinand, there's something I've been meaning to say to you for a while now. Honestly, I couldn't care less that you were of noble birth. Your fierce determination doesn't come from your bloodline. It's your own doing. The reason I value you and want to be friends with you is because of who you are, not who your family is. So you're saying that the kind of world I'm striving to create is wrong? Finding a way to educate the people. Interesting. I'm impressed by how much thought you've given this. No matter what shape the world takes, I'm sure I'll always need people like you by my side. People with strong principles who will argue with me and force me to consider ideas that are contrary to my own. I've always thought of you as a valued friend, Ferdinand. That's nothing new. Halt, Ferdinand. There's a time and a place for everything. But that time is not now. You could say that. I'm looking for someone named Linhardt who's been skipping lectures again. You could say that. I'm looking for someone named Linhardt who's been skipping war meetings again. What else could bring me here other than your complete negligence? Before you go on, is there any discernible benefit to me allowing this babble to continue? And that would be? That's it. You know, if you ever truly applied yourself, you could become a distinguished scholar. You could use your crest knowledge to benefit the world, or uncover new discoveries in magic theory. There's nothing wrong with a selfish drive for knowledge, but only if you put it to good use. Oh? Then please, tell me what potential uses you have in mind. A lullaby? I have things to do. Just know that this was my last warning. Linhardt, at least try to do some training. Use a staff, or a rod, or a broom for all I care. You slept through the whole debate, didn't you? Fine, I'll summarize it for you. There you are. Don't tell me you were sneaking out to do some training. A mere coincidence. Why would you wish to hide from me? To ensure that your talent is not wasted due to your lack of... What is the matter with you? As house leader, I'm trying to prevent you from causing trouble for yourself and our classmates. As emperor, I'm trying to prevent you from making a mockery of the Black Eagle Strike Force. How so? That's taking it a bit far, don't you think? I see. Very well. You've made your perspective perfectly clear. Linhardt, I finally found you. Perhaps another time. Right now, I have something to discuss with you. You've said before that you don't care about the usefulness of your research. After giving it some thought, I decided that I'd like to create an institution for crest and relic research, and I'd like for you to lead it. All you would need to do is carry out whatever research you like. Somebody else will decide how to make use of your findings. What do you think? I imagine such an environment would suit you quite well. Why are you skeptical about my proposal? Well then, I suppose I should be grateful. But I'll be honest. I see little point in bringing you on board if you're so troubled by the idea. Let's put this idea on hold for the moment. I'll figure something out for you by war's end. I have great respect for your talent, Linhardt. I'm certain I can find a way to make use of it that's to your liking. Here again, I see. Understandably. Now, about my proposal to create an institution for crest and relic research. I've decided to move forward with it. As for who will lead the charge, actually, no. I was just considering some conditions for whoever applies for the job. To start, I won't allow the position to be a secondary one. That excludes lords who are busy looking after their own territories. Quite the opposite. I'm looking for applicants with enough passion for the job that they're willing to relinquish any landholding rights they possess. They will be provided with necessities like food, clothing, and housing, but will receive no further compensation. That said, they will be free to take as much time off as they desire. That's my hope. Why must I what? I told you I'd figure out a way to make use of your talents that you'd find acceptable. Then have you decided? Training again. You're certainly working hard, Caspar. I did, but no matter. What has you training with such intensity? It's never good to neglect one's training, but overdoing it is ill-advised as well. You could already give any student here a battle they wouldn't soon forget. If memory serves, you're the second son of House Burgleys, right? I understand. It's difficult being born a noble. Those who inherit everything also inherit great burdens. But the same can be said of those who inherit nothing. Are you picking a fight, Caspar? You're as disrespectful as ever, Caspar. I have no desire to bicker with you. Good luck with your training. Goodbye. Caspar, I've been wondering something. Would you be happier if you were the heir to House Burgleys? You may not want to hear this, but your brother is not a good man. He's lazy and greedy, and has always relied on the knowledge that he would inherit a title. That's my impression of him, anyway. That's the price of taking your own desires into account when choosing an heir. The concept of nobility is decaying, and it's dragging the empire into the ground with it. It must. I intend to create a world where the best are free to rise to the top and succeed, regardless of their bloodline. The nobility as it is now could not exist in a world like that. I'll make sure of it. If you were the best suited for that position, I would. Is that so? Why do you ask? You can seem rather oblivious, but then you go and shock me with your keen insight. Is it? You only have yourself to blame for the reputation. As for me, I've always thought of you as something of a victim. I mean, you're a victim of Fodlan's antiquated system of nobility. You're skilled and you work hard, yet you still play second fiddle to your less capable older brother. Even still, you fight on, not allowing yourself to be discouraged by it all. People like you help to fuel my fire. If I can only smash this rotten system, I could save you. Just hear me out. I've realized that I was wrong about you. I can now see that you've found a way to live the life you want to live. Simply put, you love working hard, and you love training. You don't know the meaning of surrender. I never thought such a genuine person could really exist. It doesn't matter that you have burdens to bear. Despite that, you never stray from your path. You don't let anything tie you down. I can hardly imagine a life like that. To be honest, I'm a bit jealous. Is that so? That's true. I certainly make mistakes, but I feel it's important to own up to them. This is no laughing matter, Caspar. Then again, that's part of how you choose to live as well, isn't it? I don't doubt it. The future is ours, Caspar. I'm counting on you to help clear the way. Bernadetta, why are you following me? You were following me quite conspicuously, so why attempt to hide now? Calm yourself. I have no reason to harm you. Bernadetta, please explain why you were following me and why you tried to hide. Please, speak like the human that you are. I already said no harm will come to you, and that explains it. How? Honestly, look, nobody is truly fearless. Even I have things that I'm afraid of. You seem oddly overjoyed at the thought. The sea. I find the pitch black of the open sea at night quite frightening. I can't swim, so if the sea were to wash me away, I fear I would never return. Again, my shortcomings delight you. Everyone has fears as well as things they can't do. How many times must I tell you? Bernadetta, I appreciate all the effort you're making to overcome your fear of me. Your dedication is commendable. However, Bernadetta, the problem you keep running into is that you don't listen to what people are really saying. That's why your efforts are in vain. You need to listen instead of jumping to your own conclusions. Are you listening to me? Then why aren't you responding? I was, by all means. But please try to make it a fairly quiet one. You're trying your best. I know that. But even so— Wait! You didn't let me finish! I was only going to say that— I feel the same. You know so much about it, Bernadetta. They are sweet. Unlike people, they can all be trusted on sight. Well, I'll strive to avoid getting angry. I'm glad to. You made quite a few friends at the academy, didn't you? I'm glad too. I had heard rumors about the reclusive daughter of House Varley, but you're nothing like I imagined. There's no need to be embarrassed. Rumors are meaningless. All that matters is the truth. I'm happy to hear it. Actually, I should thank you. That mind of yours— no, I mean the grateful sort of thanks. Before I met you, I was more prone to anger, but now I've changed in that regard. So, thank you for that. Oh, I suppose you're not listening. It's okay, Bernadetta. I'm thanking you, not attacking you. You did, yes. but don't worry about it. Enough talk, don't you think? Let's take care of these sweet little plants. Bernadetta, I hope you'll keep spending time with me. So it is. I can't wait to see its true colors. Hello, Dorothea. I was just lost in thought. There are so many things to be done. To think of them makes my head ache sometimes. So many nobles of the Empire are utterly useless. I intend to appoint only those who can actually be useful. It doesn't matter if they're of noble or common birth. When I am emperor, I intend to appoint only those who can actually be useful. It doesn't matter if they're of noble or common birth. Don't worry. I will make that a reality. It's not a question of can or cannot. All that matters is doing it and doing it right. The nobility system has only been around for 1,200 years. The concept didn't exist before that. A character from an opera. If an opera is made about my life someday, I wonder how I'll be portrayed. The emperor who brought everlasting peace to Fodlan? Or the tyrant who shed the blood of her people? The revolutionary who guided the empire to a new dawn? Or the foolish ruler who took her revolution too far? That's quite enough, Dorothea. I'm starting to feel more than a little embarrassed. Lovely as your voice is, let's just hope that any operatic productions about me are still a ways off. You're in high spirits today, Dorothea. Well, I wish you the best of luck. I wish I had some advice to offer. Alas, I do not. I'm not completely disinterested. A certain face comes to mind at the thought, though I'm not sure you could call what we have a romance just yet. To be honest, there's nothing resembling romance in my life at present. It's not that I'm disinterested. I'm simply too busy with other endeavors. I have no time to spare for such things. True. And I can't ignore the possibility that I may have to marry for political purposes. I doubt I'll ever have the opportunity for a passionate romance as long as I live. You and I. Now that is an entertaining thought. If such an exciting future is in store, I look forward to it. Dorothea, when you receive a gift, don't you think you should try to remember who it's from? What's gotten into you lately? You seem mostly uninterested in the various suitors throwing themselves at you. Is something on your mind? Do you have any idea why? You seem reluctant to tell me. Is it somehow my fault? How do you mean? Please, just say what's on your mind. There's nothing wrong with that, of course. But it seems we should get to the bottom of such a drastic change. Maybe we can figure it out if we just settle down, Dorothea. I can take a hint. If you insist, I'll drop the subject. Whatever you do, don't write more opera lines about me. My cheeks are probably still red from your last performance. The frightening part is that I don't know whether you're joking or not. But I do regret to inform you that you won't be playing the role of Edelgard. Don't you see? No story about me would be complete without the character of Dorothea. It would be ridiculous for you to play me instead of yourself. Petra, you seem to be flourishing in your new environment. Is all going well for you? I'm glad to hear it. After all, a Brigid Royal like yourself is of vital importance to the future of the Empire. If you ever need anything, please let me know. It's my job to watch out for you after all. I don't doubt it. Perhaps I'm worrying too much. I just don't know what I would say to your family if something were to happen to you. There is certainly truth in your words. I do have ambitions that transcend all else for me. When I ascend the throne, there are certain things I must do. As emperor, I have an ambition that I must fulfill. It requires that I see this war through to the end. Tell me, Petra, who do you think I am? I will tell you. I am Edelgard von Hresvelg, and yes, I'm attempting to do what no one else can. I'm prepared to shoot 2 birds, or even 3, with a single arrow. That is the least of the impossible things I will accomplish. If you don't need my patronage, then prove it. Show me your power. Never settle for being the bird. Be the arrow instead. Well, if you intend to shadow us like that, you can be sure it won't escape our notice. Hubert was primed and ready to remove you. I ordered him to stand down. 2 pheasants? Are you implying that? That's astounding, Petra. It's perhaps a bit late to explain now, but what I was getting at earlier was actually you... Come again? Did you know? Yes, that much is certain. I can see that you no longer need me to look out for you. You and I are much the same. We dutifully shoulder our burdens and stand tall no matter what. It would be foolish of me to deny it. A cheap trick, to be sure, but inarguably funny. To think that you went to all the trouble of shooting 2 pheasants at once for the sake of a joke. Well played, Petra. Professor Hanneman, may I have a moment of your time? I'll pass on that offer. I'm just hoping you'll explain something to me. Why did you abandon your noble standing in the Empire? And don't say it was for your crest research. There are institutes for that within the Empire. You could easily have remained a noble and still been able to visit Garreg Mach, or request the cooperation of the Church. But surely your noble status would have allowed you greater funding and resources. Even secrets of the Kingdom and the Alliance would have been easier to obtain as a noble of the Empire. I see you're unwilling to be forthcoming on that topic. I've heard that you used to enthusiastically research crests for the Empire. You abandoned the Empire, yet retained your focus on crest research. I just wanted to know why. That's right. When I was a student, I avoided this place. I couldn't allow the Church to learn of my crests, after all. I suppose so. Though I'm still bothered by certain things. Well, we're fighting to free the world from the Church's control and to unify Fodlan. You must have some idea of what the world I'm seeking to create will be like. Precisely. Our current system is founded on the fact that crests are inherited through blood. If we shatter the status quo so that those without crests are no longer at the mercy of those with them, the very concept of nobility will vanish. Perhaps the fate of the nobility is of no consequence to you. But what about that of crests? You've devoted your life to unraveling their secrets, whereas I seek to create a world where crests are no longer valued. In fact, I would prefer to rid the world of them entirely if at all possible. Does this not concern you? I see. Professor Hanneman, I owe you an apology. So you knew. You're right. I'm afraid I found it difficult to quell my doubts. Your father bore a major crest, and both you and your grandfather inherited minor crests. Your sister was born without one. But as the daughter of a family in which crests are prevalent, others saw potential in her. That's why she was married off to a certain noble whose influence was waning. He was undoubtedly desperate for power, but no matter how many children she bore him, none manifested a crest. She fell from her husband's favor and was mistreated, ultimately leading to. That's why you abandoned your position in the Empire and came to Garreg Mach, a world in which anyone can bear a crest. That's not so different from a world with no crests at all. Professor Hanneman, please say no more. I've made peace with my past. Now I look only to the future, to the world we're fighting to create. Thank you. That means a great deal to me. Your knowledge and your experience are both invaluable, and your passion, too. I welcome your support, and in turn, I will do my best to earn the trust you have placed in me. That song, Professor Manuela, that song you were humming, I feel as though I've heard it before, long ago, and I'm sure it was you singing it back then. At the Opera House in the Imperial Capital, perhaps. So it was you. I went to that performance with my uncle. I wanted desperately to see it again. But after that night, he took me to seek asylum in the kingdom. When I returned to the Empire several years later, you had already retired. Sadly, that's correct. That's how much of an impression your voice left on me. I must ask, why did you retire so soon? You could have continued for another 10 or 20 years. So despite your belief in the goddess, you wish to live by your own strength? Professor Manuela, may I come in? This room, What happened here? No, I just... can I help you tidy up? Actually, I have to know. How did you make such a mess in the first place? Oh, right. Well, let's see what we can do about it. I heard that you haven't been acting like yourself, so I came to see if you're doing all right. But the moment I saw you, I could tell you were troubled. So it seemed pointless to ask. I don't need a reward. But if you wouldn't mind answering my question, I'd greatly appreciate it. I once asked you why you chose to retire. You said that the goddess supports you emotionally, but it's up to you to take care of the rest. I have to admit that I don't quite understand what you meant by that. Can you please explain? What happened during that time? I see I was wrong about something. I thought that being a devout believer implied a certain weakness of spirit, an inability to survive on your own. But you've proven me wrong, Professor Manuela. Right you are. I appreciate your concern. In here, I'm trapped in a whirlwind of political affairs. I just needed to escape for a moment to get some fresh air. To be honest, I still can't forget what you told me before. I don't want you to misunderstand and think I'm against everything the church represents. There's good there, buried in the corruption. Still, I find it extremely difficult to step back and accept the good, overlooking all the rest. For the world to start anew, it's necessary for the nobility system and the Church of Saros to both be completely crushed. I believe so, but then I think about people like you, who are devoted to the goddess, people who are unlike the others, who are willing to fight for themselves rather than leaving everything in the hands of a higher power. When I achieve my aim, I'll be crushing your emotional and spiritual support. Yet despite all that, you're still here, still supporting me. You're too kind. What do you mean by that? Now I'm blushing. Let's change the subject, shall we? Lysithea, are you all right? You don't look well. You were cleaning the library all by yourself? So many books. You probably tired yourself out just moving them from the shelves. Well, maybe you should think things through a little more next time. Surely you can tell how much physical strength the job is going to require before you begin. I only said that you should take care of yourself. Especially considering nothing. Never mind. How about you return to your quarters? I'll finish cleaning up in here. I don't mind, really. Please, don't make me repeat myself. I will. Get some rest, okay? If what I heard about Lysithea is true, I just don't know how much of it I should believe. You want to speak with me? How unusual. Please, come in. I'll prepare some tea for us. Have a seat. Would you care for some cake? They're from Enbar. A bit too sweet for my own liking. True. Well, there's no shortage of them. Help yourself to as many as you like. Now then, you wish to speak with me? Maybe this can wait until you've finished eating? What in particular? Oh, that's hard to believe. Actually, this is the first I'm hearing of it. How would I know unless you told me? Either way, I know now since you just told me about your 2 crests, your physical weakness, and your short life expectancy. However, according to the principles of crest research, it's impossible to bear 2 crests unless you've undergone a blood reconstruction surgery. Is that the case, Lysithea? I see. So you've lived through that relentless terror and agony and survived. You're a good friend, Lysithea, and a valuable member of this army, so I won't have you overexerting yourself. I don't want to lose you. Understand? Good girl. Oh, and if you like those cakes, why not take some with you for later? How are you today, Lysithea? Quite well, thank you. It's true. My aim is to dismantle the current system of aristocracy. The only reason nobles enjoy the status they do is because their bloodlines carry crests. If crests lose their value, so will titles of nobility. Lysithea, huh? Understood. I promise to do all I can to see this goal to fruition, and I want you to promise something in return. That you will never stop fighting for your life. Whatever terrible fate awaits us, we can fight it and prevail. I need you to trust me on that. Do you promise? Good girl. Now then, would you care for a sweet cake? I never had a chance to cook in Enbar, so my skills are a bit undeveloped. This would go a lot quicker if I could just use an axe or a sword. Oh, I love this meal. How did you know? When I think of the past, it makes me grateful for things like having a nice, relaxing meal. It's good to be able to speak freely, to express both my likes and dislikes. Our voices are all over the place. We must learn to work together in harmony. Thank you for inviting me. Is something on your mind? I don't fuss with makeup all that much, but I do take excellent care of my hair. It upsets Hubert when I spend time alone with you. I'll refrain from telling him about this. If I hadn't been born to House Hresvelg, I imagine life would have been much simpler. You're much more meticulous than I would have guessed. A moment of relaxation. It has been a while. I find spending these quiet moments with you rather comforting. Do you remember the day we met? You protected me from those bandits. You're always so calm. I'm glad you called me here. Would it be okay if I just laze about for a few moments? You're the only one I can allow to see me like that. Do you like my hair? Actually, it used to be much darker than this. One day, I'll show you around the palace in Enbar. It has a lovely garden. Here, I can take a break from the burden of being emperor. Perhaps that's why I'm so comfortable with you. I have no intention of handing the imperial throne over to any child I might have. Instead, I'll choose an outsider who's brilliant, and kind. Thank you for the treat. This was fun. I hope you'll invite me again. How did you know this was mine? Thank you, my teacher. A lost item. It doesn't look familiar. Maybe you should ask around. Did you go out of your way to select my favorite tea? Thank you for the thought. This tea is exquisite. Thank you for the wonderful treat. Hello? Wow. Come now. Yes. No. Perhaps. Oh, really? What about this? In other words, incidentally, I'm counting on you. What do you think? Of course. Are you sure? That's. Professor. Thank you. It's quite hot. This is lovely. It smells delicious. Hubert, the whole point is for us to achieve this together. Don't you think? We showed remarkable teamwork, much better than we could have achieved with anyone else. We have no good excuse for it, but somehow we came up short. Being preoccupied with Imperial duties is no excuse. Here at Garrigmach, I must do my part as a member of the team. We are the Emperor and the Minister of the Imperial household, after all. Right you are. The two of us should have done much better than this. True. I feel that sharing a table with people you're close to is a precious opportunity that should never be taken for granted. Let me guess, we look as though we're plotting something wicked. You realize you're mostly to blame for that. Everyone else does it, and I will too. I don't want any special treatment. It's rather impressive how well we destroyed this place. Some areas are still useless. Quiet, Hubert. We've set up base here, so what choice do we have? Our professor is certainly adventurous. But I wonder what the point was of putting us on the same team. Yes. Results or no results, this is far from a great idea. Is that so? In any case, I think it's time for a break. It's a decent result for two people who don't get along terribly well. Put your heart into it, Ferdinand. It'll be over sooner if you do. Nothing could slow me down for something trivial like this. It's not like you to say that. But honestly, we both pulled our weight. A decent result. At least we didn't run into any issues. Oh, Ferdinand. I appreciate the confidence, but don't get carried away. That went better than expected. Our teamwork is clearly improving. That's quite enough. I told you not to get carried away. Ferdinand, please stop making everything a competition against me. Ferdinand, I hope you'll take this opportunity to speak freely to me. Ferdinand, you can say what you like about me some other time. For now, let's just enjoy a nice meal. Don't worry, Petra. There is no use in fearing failure. It is my duty to help others when necessary. Petra, our teamwork has yielded a report for the professor. Worry not, Petra. At least we completed our task. You and I are both heirs to an immense burden. There is no need to hold back around each other. It seems a bit soon for that, but certainly. And you have mine, Petra. I look forward to working with you again. Do you miss the food of your homeland, Petra? I wish there was a way to get some for you. No, it is not so bad. In all honesty, I've had to eat much worse food in the past. I hope you've had a chance to meet everyone. Would you like to know more about any of the Black Eagles? Me? Well, some think I'm a bit distant. Arrogant, even. But there's little to be done. One day, I must rise to become Adrestia's next emperor. What else? Well, it seems to me that we may have similar personalities. Hubert is the heir of Marquis Vestra. He has served me since I was a child. You may think his blood runs a bit cold, but actually that's rather accurate. Still, if you can get past that, you'll see he's quite astute and reasonable. For some reason, he thinks of me as a bitter rival and is always trying to challenge me. It's terribly irritating. His house is that of Duke Eyre, which produces Adrestia's prime ministers. That family is perhaps too pleased with its own status. He's remarkably intelligent, but he only wishes to apply himself to tasks that particularly interest him, and nothing else. He's also fond of, well, napping. If he had any work ethic or sense of duty to speak of, I suppose he would be destined to become an official of the Empire. He's the second son of Count Bergliez. He has no inheritance in his future, which is perhaps why he's always so eager to prove himself. He's overly energetic and rushes headfirst into any battle. If he ends up in your care, be sure to keep a close eye on him. She's Count Varley's only daughter. I suppose you could say she's a bit eccentric, but she seems like a gentle soul. I believe she's shut herself away in her quarters and doesn't care to leave, but don't worry, I'll make sure she finds her way to class. Few commoners have joined the Black Eagle House. but Dorothea is an exception. She's a songstress from a famous opera company in the Empire. I'm not entirely sure what brought her to the Officers' Academy. To the west of Fodlan is an archipelago called Brigid. Petra is the granddaughter of their king. Brigid is a vassal state of the Empire, which is how she came to be enrolled here. She's incredibly smart and studious. You look as if you have no idea what's going on here. I know my way around, so I'm happy to help you find your footing. The monastery has some exceptional facilities that everyone who lives at the Officers' Academy is welcome to make use of. For example, you can enjoy a meal with your students at the dining hall, or take part in some one-on-one sparring at the training grounds. I suggest visiting the various facilities whenever you have the time to spare. It's a great way to get to know the students, faculty, and various workers here. Have you noticed the bulletin boards placed around the monastery? Those contain requests people have posted, as well as helpful information from the market. If you prove yourself by helping people with their requests, certain facilities here will become available for your use. The bulletin board is updated frequently, so I suggest checking it at least once a month. You should take your time when speaking with everyone, but when it comes to using the facilities, well, you need to be more careful about that. If you use them without planning ahead, your free time will be gone before you know it. A great deal is expected from professors of the Officers' Academy, so it's important to hone your skills. To put it plainly, you'll need to keep expanding your knowledge of all disciplines, not just battle. Just as students have much to learn from other students, professors can also share their knowledge with each other. You should consider seeking instruction from Professor Hanneman or Professor Manuela. I think you'll find their insight quite interesting. Which house a student is assigned to depends on where they're from. That said, each professor has their own area of expertise. So if a student is adamant about it, it is possible to switch someone from one house to another. Pending your approval, of course. Have you not been told what's expected from lectures here? Well, I can tell you how it works based on what I've heard from other professors. Before starting a lecture, it's a good idea to determine everyone's academic goals. Students will want to prioritize studying things that will help them achieve their aim. It's probably easier to get good results if you instruct students based on their interests and specialties. Of course, that doesn't mean it's pointless to teach someone things unrelated to their personal goals as well. By looking beyond their preferences, some students may find they're interested in fields they've never previously considered. A student's goals may change based on their studies or the experience they gain while on missions. When that happens, perhaps you could help them decide what new goals they should set for themselves. How motivated a student is will affect how well your tutoring goes. To help cultivate their motivation, I think it's a good idea to interact with your students as much as possible. Please try your best to motivate everyone, so that they, in turn, will try hard with their assignments and activities. At the Officers' Academy, students are encouraged to engage in various activities in and around the monastery. If you instruct your students to work together as a team, it will help to deepen their bonds and produce better results. Have you heard about the certification exams? They take place every month. Everyone here is working hard to become a certain type of soldier. And those tests are how you can check to see how far we've come. In order to pass the exam, you need to train enough to become whatever class you're aiming for. Take care to develop your students strategically so that they can pass their certification exams. In battle, it's necessary to deploy battalions so that students can experience taking command. I doubt I need to say this to a mercenary like you, but if you have any questions about how to use your soldiers, please don't hesitate to ask. After you hire a battalion, you'll need to decide who will lead them. Battalions can contain soldiers like mages and monks who don't fight with weapons. Be sure to think carefully about who would benefit most from the support of battalion soldiers and their specific skills. Naturally, battalions lose endurance as they fight. If you visit the Battalion Guild in the market, you'll be able to replenish their endurance. In the Battalion Guild, you can find various battalions that aren't affiliated with the Church of Seros. We're allowed to hire them if we so please, so you should familiarize yourself with the guild whenever you have the chance. When you deploy a battalion, you can utilize its special gambit in battle. If a gambit is successful, your enemy will be severely shaken. Joining forces with a nearby ally is a surefire way to enhance your effectiveness. If you become closer with the students by partaking in the various activities around the monastery, you'll be able to talk to them about such things. Is there anything else you wish to ask me about regarding spending your time at the monastery or battles?